I don't think I do it.
Arsenal started like house on fire. Signing number 2 for this new era. It's Judgment Day, people. Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Don't believe in any love, I believe I'm self-made, yeah. Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. It seems like an age since I've done one of these, when in reality it's about a day or two, innit? I know it was yesterday. What am I talking about? See what I mean? It seems like an absolute age, but we did one of these yesterday. Well, we didn't do one of these. We did a watch-along of the FA Cup final. Congratulations, Manchester City, down in Manchester United. I've just watched Jack Grealish's interview, actually. I love Jack Grealish, you know. Just an honest, sincere guy who loves football. Right, listen, today we're going to be talking about the latest names in the managerial hunt. We're going to be talking about a few transfer stories as well. Nothing major in terms of the transfer stories. It's more a case of exits potentially for Leeds United and what that means. The scream was all for nothing, and it's going to disappear. I will be looking at getting a new intro for the EFL. Luke Ayling's done a nice little goodbye, not goodbye message. That's the wrong word to use. Sort of like a message to Leeds fans saying, you know, we didn't get to celebrate promotion. As a team. I tell you what, we'll jump straight into that, and I'll share that with you because I think it's a nice place to start. Before we do, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course hit that notification bell. Let's just quickly have a look at this. Big shout out my good friend Lucy and Danny. Lucy just tweeted this out, but he said, look, we all let the club down to the fans. I'm sorry we couldn't keep you in the Premier League. All my attention now is to make sure we bounce back straight away. When we got promoted last time, we did it without being able to celebrate with our great fans. And now that's what I look forward to and dream of doing. And you can see there, Calvin Phillips, love you, man. Pablo Hernandez, 2 muscles and a kiss on there as well. So that's the sort of things we want to be hearing from the camp. A lot of people want to move Luke Ayling on. I think it's mad. You need to keep some core experienced players who knows what it means to be Leeds, who've been here through the ups and the downs, because Luke Ayling came in under Gary Monk, I believe, you know, a few poor seasons, and then obviously had the Bielsa effect and getting promoted and that. And you need to keep some of these characters around. There's talk of Adam Forshaw getting a year extension. Again, I'm okay with it. I'm not asking these players to be started. Let me just caveat that. But I think it's important we keep Liam Cooper, Luke Ayling, Adam Forshaw around the place. They won't be on big money. They won't be looking for moves elsewhere. So it's nice to hear him come out with that message. And he'll be hurting. He definitely will be hurting. And look, we're going to talk about managers. I put a tweet out yesterday saying, is anyone else coming round to the idea of Stevie G and Gary McAllister? And I got absolutely battered for it, but it's all good. It was coming from a place of love and maybe a few too many sherbets at some point. I don't know. But listen, we're going to talk about the latest managerial hunt. And it almost feels a little bit underwhelming. You know, the people on the thumbnail, for example, you've got Steven Gerard, you've got Scott Parker, and you've also got Jean-Dal Tomasson on there as well. Jean-Dal Tomasson may be a little bit more exotic just because of the name. He's on there. My preferred choice still at this time would be Carlos Corbaran. I do think that's probably the hierarchy's preferred choice, and I do think it is an easy get out of West Brom just due to their financial issues currently. But there are other names linked. Regis Libri is one as well, Alfie. I don't know much about him. And I think it's too much of a gamble to bring in Regis Libri. For me personally, I'd rather go with Corbaran. But that's my preferred choice. Brendan Rodgers, yes. Stephen, I love Brendan Rodgers. But again, I've said all along, and I hope I'm wrong, that he won't come to a championship club. Graham Potter keeps getting linked to Leicester. Again, I'm not sure that's going to happen because Graham Potter's in talks with Crystal Palace, for example. Unless they can sell the dream in the project to Graham Potter, I just don't see him dropping down to the championship along with someone like Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers will cost a lot as well, as Chris says, and maybe he's worth that. Maybe he's worth paying that. He probably is. So maybe you move for him. Philip says Brendan is dead. I think he would rip the Championship up and will play a certain brand that a lot of fans would be willing to get on board with for sure. But like BD Old Man says, forget Rodgers, forget Potter. They are coming to the Championship. And I agree with you. Michael Carrick, another I would really like, but I just think with him still new in the door at Middlesbrough did well last season. They've got a good director of football in Kieran Scott. I think he'll probably stay. They'll recruit well, as they did when he came in. And I'm expecting Middlesbrough to be up there challenging the top 6 next season. So I don't think Michael Carrick's realistic at this juncture, unfortunately. For me, a name that a few people are putting in the chat that hasn't been linked yet, but I would also advocate maybe Daniel Farke. Carlos Alberto's just mentioned it as well. Just recently released from his time at Mönchengladbach. I don't know why that was. I don't know why it was that he's parted ways with Mönchengladbach. But Daniel Farke, having previously worked with Stuart Webber, having previously got out of the Championship on 2 occasions, I believe. Did he stay a season and then come back up? I think. Not a massive budget, much like a lot of these managers. Carlos Corbaran did well at Huddersfield, done well at West Brom, again, on not big budgets. I don't know what Blackburn's budget's like, but Jean-Dal Tomasson has done well there as well. And I'll give you my genuine thoughts on Steven Gerrard. I've advocated Steven Gerrard as a potential manager before he moved to the Premier League in Villa. I know the club were big fans of Steven Gerrard and what he was doing at Rangers. There's a little part of me that goes, Steven Gerrard just could work because of the siege mentality, Leeds United, and the type of character that he is. I do think it could work, but everyone's writing it off before it's even started. So it's going to go down like a lead balloon, but you just don't know. Him and Gary Mack could potentially work. But yeah, I think Daniel Farke is one I would also like to throw into the hat. Big shout out Danny Burke, who brought me round to that idea. And of course, our good friend Andrea Russo as well had some good things to say about Daniel Farke. So he's another one to throw into the hat, but hasn't been linked yet. But I do believe if Leeds United opt for Stuart Webber, for example, as a director of football, having worked with Daniel Farke in the past, that would make sense. And I think Daniel Farke would jump at the chance to manage Leeds United. I do believe he would. Sean Healy with a super chat. Big up to you, brother. He says Carlos Corbaran is still the best choice. Knows a lot of the players at the club and will help the young. Yeah, I agree with you as well. Like that, he's still my my preferred choice at this time. But we'll have to wait and see. I do believe that, or I've been told that Radrizzani's preferred choice is Carlos Corbaran, but we don't know if Radrizzani is going to be involved in the recruitment process, if you like. We're still yet to hear what's going on with the ownership. They're hopeful that we can get it sorted by next week, but I do believe those around Radrizzani, Carlos Corbaran is his preferred choice. So if he is still majority shareholder, of course we don't want him to be. Rad's out, hashtag Rad's out. I'm on that. But if he's involved at all, then I do believe that Carlos Corbaran is his preferred choice. And I do like the idea of bringing in Carlos Corbaran, but obviously he might not be involved in the decisions. Maybe still the 49ers might opt for that. But yeah, you don't know. Just anyone as well who's sort of like doubting Daniel Farke. Here's something that was tweeted out back in April 2019, just to give you sort of idea of Daniel Farke's credentials. Obviously, the GOAT, that is Marcelo Bielsa, has a 60% league win rate this season, the season that we got promoted. And no championship manager head coach has a higher percentage in 18-19 other than Daniel Farke. So he was actually level with Daniel Farke with a 60% league win rate. So that shows the credentials of Daniel Farke at that level, and has also gone on to manage in the Bundesliga. And this is why I'd also advocate bringing in Stuart Webber. I'm an emotional guy. Obviously, I like the idea of him being a Leeds fan, of course, you know that. But also, if you look at the managers that he's worked with, you know, he's had success. He's had success working with someone like Daniel Farke. So, and they've then gone on to do good things as well. I believe he worked with Wagner as well. Maybe he worked with Wagner. I think he worked with Wagner as well, who obviously got Huddersfield promoted. Finley said, Twitter just seen someone take a selfie with him. What are we talking about? Luke Ayling's being pictured in a 49ers shirt, right? Okay. I think he is on holiday at the moment. I got a message to say a Spurs fan had spoken to him and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, anyway, let's move. Let's talk about the so Wagner is at Norwich. There you go. Then I didn't even know that. That's very lazy of me, isn't it? Will says, Cherry's fan. I hope you guys say that you don't bring in Parkies. Football is like watching a metronome till you fall asleep. Yeah, I think a lot of Villa fans are saying that about Stevie G as well. But let's get into the Daily Telegraph article that basically broke the links to Gerard, etc., put together by Mike McGrath, and we'll chat about that first of all. So, Leeds United consider Steven Gerrard, Scott Parker, or Carlos Corbaran as its next manager. If my preferred choice is Carlos Corbaran, without a doubt. Hard pass on Scott Parker and Steven Gerrard. Look, I am sort of, I don't mind it, and I know I'll get battered for it, but I don't mind it. I just think his character with our football club could work. And RM, yeah, you know, for a counter narrative, let's remember that Scott Parker has promoted 2 teams out of the Championship on both times of asking. So you have to give him his flowers in that respect for sure. Look, it's like snog, marry, avoid, isn't it? It's like snog, marry, avoid. I'd marry Corbaran, I'd snog Gerard, and I'd avoid Parker. That's what it's like at this point. Yeah, it's a hard pass on Parker for me personally, just because I'm not too keen on him either. You know, with regards to his comments about Bielsa and scripted movements and all that. Steven Gerrard, as I say, I'm okay with, but my preferred choice would be Corbaran. I assume if we were playing Snog, Marry, Avoid, I think you would all probably agree with me in that you would marry Corbaran, Snog Gerrard, and avoid Parker. I think that's what we're saying. And also Scott Parker, like moving into the Premier League, has not done well. You know, Leeds Hub says Scott Parker would cut with financial backing. I'm not too sure on that. I mean, look, he was writing off Bournemouth like you would not believe, basically resigning them to relegation, and that just doesn't show the right kind of attitude for me, because Gary O'Neill saved them at a canter with the similar sort of squad. So I think yeah, Scott Parker needs to get in the bin just for that alone, for me personally, because they got battered by Liverpool 7 or whatever it was, and you know, and he's talking about like, yeah, we'll go down. Gary O'Neill came in, galvanized them, and they were safe. So yeah, do people want just Corbaran because he knows the club? No, he's had success because he has done well at West Brom and Huddersfield and has shown that he can do it. Yeah, it was probably 9-0, Harold. Yeah, it was. You know what my memory's like. I have short-term memory loss at times. But let's get into the article now and see what's been said. So I will just zoom in slightly. So Steven Gerrard, Scott Parker, and Carlos Corbaran are among the name managers being considered by Leeds United after it was confirmed that Sam Allardyce has left the club. The takeover, though, is key to short-term plans for troubled club. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, if the takeover is going to rumble on, we still need to make acquisitions quick, because we're running out of time. Remember, we play, I think, on the 14th of July against Manchester United in Oslo. So we need a manager in at that point. We also need players in at that point, and we need to have let some of these players go that want to move on for high transfer fees and those that aren't going to get new deals, etc. So maybe even if this is going to ramble on, then they come to an agreement and say, do you know what? Let's just give it Corbaran. Yeah. So even if the takeover isn't done, we still need to get something sorted in terms of the manager. But it is key to short-term plans for the club. We know that Kinnear is currently overseeing the process, although it is complicated in the immediate short term by whether there will be a change of ownership. This is the thing, isn't it, right? So, as I've said to you, I have unreliable information that Radrazani is a big advocate of Carlos Corbaran. However, the 49ers may not be. And the 49ers, as we know, as I told you on this show, they sounded out Bielsa. So they might have a totally different idea. So Angus is like, stuck in the middle. Stuck in the middle. This is where he is. So like Rads could be saying, right, get Corbaran. Yeah. And he could be going to them and saying, right, we're going to push on Corbaran. And they go, no, we're not really keen on that. We're not keen on that, Angus. And we're confident we can get this deal over the line in order to buy the football club and bring in someone we want. And their man might be Rodgers, right? They might be flexing their muscles. They tried to get Bielsa. Obviously, it didn't come off, but they did have a conversation with him. And that was never going to happen if Radrazani was in charge, right? So it feels like we're at a bit of an impasse. So they need to get around the table and say, right, what are we? Come on, we need to think about the football club. The takeover, in a sense, we can put on the back burner, but we are also hindering ourselves if we do not bring in a director of football, if we do not bring in a manager. We are hampering ourselves, regardless of who the owner is. If it's Rad's majority, if it's 49ers majority, they are hampering themselves. So whoever's going to take us into next season, obviously Rad's out, but whoever's going to be the majority, they need to say, right, okay, if it's going to be the 49ers, let them take that majority and then be the key decision maker. But it's causing issues currently and we need it dealt with as soon as possible. It is hoped that an announcement will be made after the weekend to clarify whether the 49ers will proceed with an immediate buyout of Andrea Radrazani. So maybe we could be looking at talking about this on Monday. We could be looking at talking about this on Tuesday. Just to give you a heads up, folks, Monday, Tuesday is going to be the last time for a video until Sunday because I'm doing the 92-mile walk for Gary Speed. So just a heads up on that. It will be quiet on the channel. I set off at like 2 a.m., 2:30 on Wednesday morning to get down to Elland Road, and then from there, from 5 a.m., we then have to go to Liverpool, and then we set off walking. I forget where the first day is. Not Burnley, somewhere before that. I can't remember. But yeah, so the last time for a video will probably be Tuesday. It won't be late night Leeds because I'll be getting an early night, but it'll be towards the back end, 6-ish, something, and then I'll go to bed. But yeah, so Sunday today. I'll do one tonight. Obviously, we'll hear some bits. Monday, Tuesday, I've got you covered. And then, as I say, I'll be there till Sunday. Sorry, Saturday I'll be back. And I'll do the Champions League final. I'll see City win the treble. And then, as I say, Sunday I'm at work, but back to normal. So yeah, it's a good job I'm working from home Sunday because I'll barely be able to walk, but we move. Yeah, that's just to give you so people aren't saying, where's Joe, what's happening? If anything happens, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to cover it, which I'm gutted about myself because obviously, but it's for a good cause. It's for Andy's Man Club and it is also for the Samaritans. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. Right, okay, so we'll go back in then. If there is any delay, right, we don't need to cover that. We know what's going on with the football club. So this is the manager chat then. Championship, experience, or big name personality. So it is thought that Corbaran is one of the candidates admired by Radrazani. Again, this is in the article, but I've had it from reliable information who also told me about the Bielsa stuff, that it is... he's Radrazani's man if he is the main decision maker. The fact that they aren't even getting that over the line tells me we're still having issues with the ownership, clearly, because surely, for me, that's an easy get. The reason I say it's an easy get as well is because West Brom have so many issues financially. They've just had to let their director guy go because of issues financially, and the club's rotting a little bit. They've got big players on big wages, etc. So I think Carlos is an easy get, and West Brom were very smart in getting him to sign a new deal, etc. Because it's going to come with compensation. But again, I think about 2 million to get him out. But again, the 49ers might not be happy to sign off on that, because they might be saying, well, no, we're going to take charge and we're going to go after this guy. And Rodgers is going to cost us more, for example, if that's their preferred choice. So Radwazani, quite big on Carlos. You can understand why, having worked with him before and all that sort of stuff, yeah? Right. So, there you go then. It says there, understood to have a 2 million buyout clause he signed in February. And of course, he's former assistant to Marcelo Bielsa. This is a big thing as well. Obviously, I'm a massive Bielsa stan. But the fact that he was allowed into that inner circle, that inner sanctum of Marcelo Bielsa, tells you all you need to know. The fact that he saw enough of him to say, yes, I'm willing to welcome you in. I just wish at this point that Carlos would have never moved to Huddersfield, because it would have been the perfect transition from Bielsa to Carlos at the time, instead of going after the car salesman, It's a shame, but it is what it is. Carlos had, thought he had his own career to look after, right? And he's not done bad since he left. Right, okay, so let's go back to the article. So it says, it remains to be seen, however, whether he is a big enough personality to galvanise Leeds following their relegation. I think he's enough to galvanise the fans, but then I guess, I think for us, we prefer Corbaran over Steven Gerrard, the majority anyway. But what about the players? What can Steven Gerrard bring to a dressing room? Well, of course, he's won it all by the Premier League. He's won it all, right? He's a fantastic player. He dwarfs Lampard for me personally. And he's one of the all-time great English midfielders. I think what went so wrong for Gerrard, just my take. Again, Villa fans will know a lot more. He was on a hiding to nothing when he messed up the Tyrone Mings situation. They brought in the centre-back, Diego Carlos. He was basically ready to bin Tyrone Mings off. And the mad thing is, a lot of us as fans would say Tyrone Mings is gash. On the outsiders, would look at Tyrone Mings and say, yeah, how is he getting an England call-up? He's woeful, etc., etc. Okay? We do owe him flowers as Leeds United fans, because we'd have been relegated the season before if it weren't for his last-ditch tackle against Weghorst, I think. Unreal challenge. But I sort of understood that passing of the guard. But then what happened, Stevie G basically stripped him of the captaincy, give it to John McGinn, and then his new signing, Diego Carlos, was out for the season. So then he had to call back on Tyrone Mings. And Tyrone Mings is a big character, big in the dressing room. So, issues. Now, of course, what a turnaround Unai Emery created, like amazing turnaround. So, I mean, Josh Hobbs, who was a person that quote tweeted my thoughts on Gerard, I did put a tweet out yesterday to say anyone else coming round to the idea of Stevie G, siege mentality, I think it could work. Obviously, I get stick for it. It is what it is. But Josh Hobbs did show me this, right? And we have to chat about this. Of course we do. So obviously, when Steven Gerrard was manager, they were 13th. Okay, you can see that, having played 11 games, only won 3, drew 3, and lost 5. Right? Leeds United were above them at that time. Obviously, he was sacked, and Unai Emery came in, and they finished 7th. They finished 7th. So it is quite the turnaround. But let's not pretend that Unai Emery isn't an elite level coach. An elite level coach. One of the best. Won multiple trophies. Also got the job at Arsenal, remember. And his win percentage at Arsenal wasn't that bad. Do you know? But he was the guy after the guy, wasn't he? So he was always going to struggle. We know that as fans. He was the guy after the guy. So you do have to put context on that Unai Emery did as well as as expected, really. Okay, maybe not expected to get them to where they did. But there has to be context put on it. And listen, Steven Gerrard, as poor as he was doing, they were 13th. They wouldn't have got relegated. Not a cat and hell's chance they'd have got relegated. Not with the players at the disposal. So, yeah, and give me 13th any day of the week. Give me 13th any day of the week. So, Billo says, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. His Rangers side played some very good stuff. Very good stuff. So I don't think that's fair to say. Miter gives me some context to say Joey did leave us at 17th. That's fair, bro. That's fair. How many games into the season was he sacked, Miter? If you don't mind me asking, because I was showed that after 11 games. So I wonder if Josh Hobbs has tried to and not showed me the true context. I don't know, but then maybe he's done it to show Leeds above them. But then again, it'd have worked more for his argument if he'd have put him as 17th. How many games into the season? 11. Oh, well, you can't have been, bro, then. Well, you can't have been after 11 games, mate. You were 13th. I'll show you the league table, mate. And there you were after 11 games. So it seems that I know more about your football club than you, might you? Do your research, bro. Bro. Yeah. 100%. 100% slow, steady, Steve. I know it didn't work out, but he managed to bring Coutinho to Aston Villa. I know it didn't work out. You know what I mean? But it's easy with hindsight to say that, right? Warnock would get this team up. We've been there, we've done that, we've wore the t-shirt. No, thank you very much. Yeah, those days are gone. The dog days are over, as Florence would say. So let's go back to the article then. Gerard, sacked by Villa last October, is understood to be interested, and he's also on the list being reviewed by Kinnear, who will carry on in his role even if the takeover goes through. So there is going to be that transitional period. Listen, I've met Angus. Let me just say this. I've met Angus, and on a personal level, the guy is a nice guy. He is a nice guy. I played football against him, chatted with him, nice guy. Did the Yorkshire Free Peaks with him, nice guy. I spent time with him from one mountain to another mountain, the first mountain to the second mountain, nice guy. Introduced me to the staff that were there in his little group, really nice guy. I've always said this, but I also have been very, very angry, upset, annoyed, disappointed with the way that he's treated fans in his program notes, right? I can only go from my experience in spending time with him, but in his job role, I've not been happy with, and you know that. But I've not been happy with any of them. The last 18 months have been an absolute shit show. But I don't mind him being in his position during this transitional period. We know that Victor Orta would have stayed in situ as well. That seemed to be the general musings coming out from the football club, but obviously he's been pied off for now. But I think the Gerard stuff for me is more so his side. I think it's more so Gerard is desperate to get back into management. That's a good sign. He's desperate to get back into management. Probably feels annoyed at the way it happened at Villa. Probably feels like the players let him down, because I think there is something in that. But again, he didn't help himself by the ostracizing of Tyrone Mings and him being captain and him being stripped of it. That it's the worst thing possible, isn't it? It is the worst thing possible to strip someone of their captaincy, and then the player that you replace him with gets out for the season. Not even for a month, not even for 2 months, for the season. So that couldn't have gone any worse for Steven Gerrard. Can you imagine that conversation having to go back to Tyrone? And Tyrone Mings is probably saying, yeah, dickhead, you need me now, don't you? You need me now. And those in the dressing room, etc. Yeah. He's a big character, Tyrone Mings. Big character. So he tried and it failed. But I think it's more so Gerrard. There's a lot of chat. Gary McAllister is his number 2. I think we'd all like that if he was to get the job. Michael Beale fell apart 100%. So yeah, look, like Philip says here, Gerard lost Beale. It started to fall apart after that. And then the Mings situation lost the fans. And also, probably, Philip, a core group of the players as well, right? A lot of that group, your likes of John McGinn, Konza, Mings, a lot of them would have been that group that got promoted. So they'll have a good relationship. You know, a lot of that core group with the team that got them promoted. Joe Barron says, Joe, I don't like this disrespect. I get it. But the disrespect to Scotland sometimes it's too loud. And I you know, it's like you can't be a success if you've managed over there. Look at the way that Spurs fans are treating Ange Postecoglou. You know, I don't know if you've seen his reaction to them winning the treble, and him saying, you know, I was laughed at, I was mocked because his Australian come plucked out of obscurity. You know, I listened to what's his face on TalkSport. Oh man, you know, I mean, the main guy in the morning. I was always pissed. What's he called? You know what I mean? Anyway, Redface. He was saying, "Oh my God, we're a laughing stock," yada yada yada, and he came over there and he did really well. You know, so let's not forget that it's not Simon Jordan, the other one with the red face. Simon Jordan comes on after, with Jim White. Alan Brazil. That's it, Rad Music Chat. Alan Brazil. And also, this is a good point as well, context. He did really well in Europe. They got to the final, right? They got to the final. They got to the final of Europe. So, you know, to say oh, it's only because it's Scotland. They got to the final of a European competition. You know what I mean? So let's not. But I just think there's too much disrespect sometimes on Scotland, and you can see the Spurs' reaction to Ange Postecoglou. But a lot of Leeds fans would take Ange Postecoglou like that. But yeah, we move. So I don't want Steven Gerrard. Do I think it could work? Yes. If he came in, would he be given a chance? Yes. I'm not that adverse to it, but there are better options. And I think it's more so Steven Gerrard is clamouring for a job. He's now being linked to Leicester. I think he will take a job. We know that. Oh, there you go then. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, but again, context. They got to the semis with Steven Gerrard. So there you go. That's still a mean feat, right? That's still a mean feat. So fairs. But yeah, there you go. So if Stephen G got him to the semi, he basically got him there, right? Would I take Van Nistelrooy? Yes, I've been on record as saying that as well. I would. Right, we move. Still a good achievement, 100%. 100%. There may be a chance to keep Dean Smith. I think it'd be the wrong decision. They think they're getting Potter. It's not happening. I'll go on record now. I don't think Potter comes to the. Anyway, we've talked about Potter and Rodgers. We move. So I wouldn't be too adverse to bringing in Steven Gerrard. A year in the Championship. Is it a risk? Potentially. Does he have experience in that league? No. So yeah, look, my preferred choice is Carlos, but as I keep saying, Steven Gerrard's so desperate, he's willing to go to any club. I don't know if it's more his agent side of things and whether or not Leeds United are actually considering him as an option. Maybe with Gary Mack being around the club recently, obviously Big Sam, there could have been conversations there. You don't know, there could have been conversations there. And Gary Mack's worked at the football club before. So there you go. Right, let's go back to the article and talk about the next candidate. So Scott Parker, who was sacked by Bournemouth at the start of the campaign after publicly revealing his fears that the squad was not strong enough. Gary O'Neill stealed them. We've spoken about that, yeah? There was money spent in January, though, with the new ownership. A huge plus point for Parker, and this is the one that I'm least adverse to. Again, context, in his 2 seasons in the Championship, he's been promoted on both occasions. Fulham in 2020 and last year with Bournemouth. And like Gerard, he's also readily available. He's not going to cost you big money, unlike Carlos Corbaran. Okay? Leeds, though, intend to run a thorough recruitment process, and I hope they do, because they were speaking to Jesse for 2 years, remember? And look how that turned out. And understandably, I've received a large number of inquiries from agents and from managers interested in the job. This is another key point when I mentioned about the Gerard situation. He's desperate to get into work. I was listening to the Inside Ellen Road podcast the other day where an agent actually contacted Graham Smith or contacted the YEP about a player who's playing across Europe that wants to play for Leeds next season. They didn't know who to speak to because the scouting network at Leeds United, Gabby Ruiz, Victor Orta, and that had gone. So they actually reached out to Graham Smith to pass on the details. We don't know who this player is, but Graham Smith said if he gets and plays for Leeds, he will obviously reveal. But it is genuine as well, because Graham Smith, after what happened with our good man Mo Ibrahim and his fake Victor Orta interview, he did make him show him his passport on that, so it is kosher. But it's the fact that Leeds United have dropped down, and that sort of stuff happens, straight away. So there is agent talk. There'll be loads contacting Leeds United. My player's available. Do you want to take him? And it'll be the same with the managers. It'd be same with the managers as well. James Milner's gone to Brighton. That's a non-mover, that one. The profile of manager wanted may, of course, change depending on the ownership. This is the thing, isn't it? For example, there'll be heavy investment should the 49ers complete the deal. If I was a betting man now, I would say, no, it wasn't Ash. It wasn't Ash, John. It wasn't Ash who done him, but yeah, it was someone on Instagram. It was someone on Instagram. Madness. Graham Smith, really, Joe, the scouting employees. Well, it's genuine, Wayne. I'm not making it up. Go listen to the Inside Elmore podcast, mate. So, if I'm a betting man, then 49ers, if they take full control, go ambitious and try throw money at someone like Brendan Rodgers. However, if the issues over the ownership aren't resolved, then I think it's Carlos Corbaran, and it's Carlos Corbaran and it's Radwazani. I think that's where my head's at. I don't think they'll go Steven Gerrard. I don't. But we'll see. Look, this came out the other day. This is another article just on the Steven Gerrard and Gary McAllister stuff. So it says on here, this was from the Sun and also mentioned in the Telegraph, that Gary McAllister and Steven Gerrard are the dream managerial pairing. But again, that's from the Mirror and the Sun. I think what the Mirror and Sun have just done there is seen the article from the Telegraph that we've just put out, and then they've taken it from there and said, "Oh, dream managerial partnership" and all that sort of stuff. I'm not too sure. So yeah, Steven Gerrard, they're saying along with Gary Mack. But look, this is that gut of journalism. This is that like headline grabber. This is the clickbait, isn't it? Like, they've seen the Telegraph article and said, right, what can we do to clickbait that? Right, we're going to say dream managerial partnership, ex-player legend at the club, and Steven Gerrard. And people go, oh, click. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, look, they're just jumping on the back of that. The most recent one, and again, this guy was actually linked last season towards the back end of the season. I think there might be genuine interest in there. It is, of course, Jean-Dal Tomasson. We've spoken about him previously on here quite some time ago. And apparently we have shortlisted Jean-Dal Tomasson. So could Jean-Dal Tomasson work? I'm not too sure. I don't know how Blackburn have been playing, but they've been doing okay under him, I believe. And apparently Blackburn are braced for an approach from the recently relegated Giants. This is the thing, though, right? Leeds United can and will flex their muscles in the Championship. If we want to go and get a Championship manager, we can say, listen, we're Leeds United. We've just come out of the Premier League. We've got loads of cash. We're having him. And that manager's also going to want to come. Yeah. There's a little bit there on Jean-Dal Tomasson's style. So it says Blackburn boss Tomasson mostly employed a high-tempo 4-2-3-1 formation, which has proved fluid and interchangeable and displayed the same level of high-intensity pressing as seen under Bielsa at Ellen Road. He also made a strong impression during his time in charge of Swedish giants Malmö, and a well-placed lead source has told Football Insider that he's increasingly seen as the next Bielsa by those inside the club. Obviously, he used to play for Newcastle and AC Milan. He stayed under the radar. He's won 26 out of a possible 55 games in charge of Blackburn, his first campaign in English football. And they only missed out on the playoffs by virtue of goal difference. He signed a contract until 2025 when he arrived at Ewood Park last summer. So there you go. He's one to keep an eye on, Jean-Dal Tomasson. The next Bielsa is Bielsa, yeah. True that. Look, I think we're probably all saying that Carlos would be the... No. For me, I think it goes Rodgers, it goes Carlos, it goes Gerard, Tomasson, Parker. That's mine. At this moment in time with the names that are linked. But we'll see. Right, let's just move it on slightly then, just to some transfer rumours. These are the latest ones being put out there, if you like, on the Leeds news merry-go-round. So first and foremost, it is our man Jackie Haradonna. We all expect Jackie to leave. So they're saying that Jack Harrison could have his head turned as talk of Leeds United summer exit emerges. I think we all know he's gonna go. Would he be willing to do a year down there to help Leeds come back up? He might be. I think that's going to be one of the big interesting things. The second thing of interest will be a big offer lands. We know there have been clubs last summer and in January trying to sign him. So if they were to put money on the table, his head might get turned. And listen, it's not even about Jack Harrison, his head being turned. Jack Harrison's got a release clause that was put in when he signed his new deal before, during January when there was the chat of the move to Leicester City. The 49ers wanting to stay clearly because that was, the issue between him moving to Leicester. They vetoed it at the end and said, no, you're not selling him. But now we're in the Championship. Look, they're all on holiday. They'll be back off holiday soon, and then we'll start to see movements. His agent will be speaking to football clubs. Damar, all this hot and cold and stuff, it's insane. The guy has been our most consistent performer over the last 3 seasons in the Premier League, and there are reasons why he will move to a club that is playing European football next season. He probably will move to a West Ham. He's also been linked to Aston Villa. I think their manager's no good player. I think teams that are playing in Europe will come for Jack Harrison, and then we're going to sit there and go, yeah, good riddance. Honestly, I think you bang your head. I think you banged your head if you think it's good riddance to Jack Harrison. It is insane. If he was to stay, man, he'd be class. But listen, most consistent performer for me over the last three seasons, and there's a reason why clubs are coming in. And you will see when he's not playing for our football club how underappreciative we were of him as a footballer. Yeah, it's all about opinions. Of course, you're entitled to yours. That's what I'm saying. But I'm just telling you, I think you're wrong. And this is why I think you're wrong. You probably, it's never personal when I say, I think you bang your head. It's just the way I'm thinking. But yeah, Josh, you're entitled to your opinion. Exactly. But I just think it's wild. I try to tell you why, but it is what it is. opinions are like assholes at the end of the day, aren't they? So yeah, and also like Andy Wrong says there, he's also reaching his peak years. And no, right, okay, I get that people do not rate him, but when you're Jaggy Bab says he's out for himself, Joe, not the club. Where's that even come from? Where does that even come from? See, that's just made up. Jack Harrison is definitely one of the players that actually tries. Did you see his reaction to us losing? Come on now. Come on. When I talk about consistency as well, I don't mean like every week. What I mean by consistency is over the course of the 3 seasons, he has been our most consistent performer over the course of 3 seasons. Over the course of our tenure in the Premier League, there has not been anyone as good as Jack Harrison over that three season span in terms of goals scored and created for me. He scored our first goal in the Premier League. He scored our last goal in the Premier League. The first season, he was immense. The second season, he got good numbers. And last season, he was still one of the better performers in a team that was absolutely abysmal. Yeah, so there you go. And had some really poor managers. But that's just my opinion. But listen, Jack Harrison will move on. And I'll be sad. I, for one, will be sad to see him go. I understand people not rating him, but it's when people say, I'm glad to see the bat of him. He's rubbish. And I'm like, hang on a minute. You do realise where we are. You do realise that we're in the Championship and people are saying, get rid. I think it's mad. But again, it's all about opinions, as you say. We'll go to Villa, says Wayne, potentially. Yeah. Right, okay. There's been an article here for Sunderland, and I just want to have a look because I want to see what's been said about them. They're looking at players, and I'm assuming... Oh, there you go. So there's been chat. About this, actually. Someone made me aware of this. I'm not too sure if it is true. About there being a potential release clause, but apparently Sunderland have now been linked with a move for Charlie Creswell. Now, I will say that Charlie Creswell last summer was being touted out permanently. I have that unreliable information. We also know that they had options and decided to go out on loan and assess them after next season, similar to Cody Drama. But Charlie Creswell now obviously spent a year on loan at Millwall. Has apparently been a long-term target of Sunderland's. Obviously, with us suffering relegation, that does throw it in. But I think he needs to be given an opportunity. But clearly, Sunderland have recruited well over the last couple of seasons. They have a good squad. They've got a good manager in Tony Mowbray, who's playing decent football. I think they're signing Joe Bellingham as well from Birmingham. If they can keep hold of Jack Clark, they've got a good team. I just want to see who else. Obviously, they had Managerial on loan as well. Leeds United could hopefully move there. I'm just seeing who else they've been linked to because it said 2 Leeds United players. Okay, so the other link is Joe Gelhardt. So it says Joe Gelhardt has been loosely linked with a return to Sunderland, where he spent the back end of the season on loan. I do not see Creswell or Joe Gelhardt going to Sunderland. I don't. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of fans really rated Joe Gelhardt. Some did, some didn't. But he had a good end to the season. Let's have a look at this one. Obviously, this one then is, of course, Diego Llorente. We bought him for 18 million, had agreed to sell him for around about 30 million. But obviously that one got vetoed when we got relegated. Sorry, it wasn't 30, it was 15. Where did I make that up from? There you go. So Corriere del Sporto said that they are keen on buying the defender. So Roma still will take him, but not at the 15 million that we'd originally requested. There's been a lot of chat about Adams as well. And yeah, I think Adams is going to move on, unfortunately. And it all depends on how long he's going to be injured for me. Do you know what I mean? We might be able to keep him till January, perhaps, but that could be amazing. And we could be top of the league by then. And then he'll say, do you know what? I'm going to stay. Real Madrid have confirmed that Mariano Diaz will be leaving, and obviously, apparently, Leeds United. This is the first time I've heard of this. Actually, apparently, Leeds United made an offer of him, offer for him quite some time ago now. Apparently, Marcelo Bielsa said to have wanted him at Leeds. He is available on a 3. I just don't see us going after Mariano Diaz. But yeah, I was quite surprised to see that in the Leeds United news sphere. Obviously, linked in the past. First time I've heard, to be honest, and now on a 3. But yeah, I don't see that one happening anytime soon. But that is Mariano Diaz. We know and we've heard as well that Cody Drama is now wanted by Burnley and Luton. They're prepared to open talks with Leeds United over the permanent transfer. Obviously, there was that opinion piece, and that's what it was. It was an opinion piece by Joe Donoghue. It was quite clickbaity, actually, because he said that Drama's open to a stay, and then when you actually read the article, it didn't say that at all. So journalists also do it as well as YouTube. It's just putting it out there. It said that Leeds United would be keen on him staying, but there was nothing from Cody's camp. But, you know, it does say Leeds want to convince him to stay and get promoted next season with the football club, and then obviously be our first choice right back. I just think, right, for me, Cody will look at the situation at Leeds United, having gone on loan twice. Ayling's staying. Rasmus is staying. He'll look at the situation and go, no, for me. And if Burnley are knocking at the door, I think Burnley have a better chance of staying up than Luton. I do think Luton will be basement dwellers. However, I do think they will do well. I think their style will... a lot of the Premier League teams will struggle with it. There isn't that many teams that play that direct anymore. It's more of a patient possession type of build-up. And it's not Burnley direct. It's not Burnley direct, but when they do, you know, get the ball, it is, we're going towards goal and we're not fecking about. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of Premier League teams will struggle to contend with that. I think in the early parts of the season, Luton will actually do well. But I do think they will go down. I do think they will go down. And Cody and his management team, his agency, will be aware of that. However, Burnley will make a bet of a fist of it. So if they are coming around there, then, you know, I think he will go. Let's jump back here. So Adams and Aronson reports as well. So according to Football Insider, Leeds United will find it very hard to keep hold of Adams, with the player said to be keen to continue playing at the highest level after a pause. This is the thing, right? Out of all our transfers, he's the one success this season. The rest of them have been rubbish. Foba, maybe. The rest have been rubbish. Aronson, rubbish. Rasmus, rubbish. Who else was there? I don't know. I can't remember. McKennie. I mean, that's probably go down on one of the worst loans in Premier League history. That one. He had about 2 good games. But yeah, Adams is the one success. He's played in Champions League. He's the captain of the USA men's national team. Nonto as well. Sorry, Jack. Yeah. He's a captain of the USA men's national team. And if clubs are interested in him, they will move. As for Aronson, he can move on. And I do hope them people that say Harrison can move on are saying the same for Aronson. Because if you want to keep Aronson and you're wanting a bid off Harrison, I question it. Because that is... Yeah, Sean, he was in the... Look, stats don't mean anything, and who scored isn't always great, because Aronson, for example, I remember against Chelsea, where I thought he was great, had actually one of the worst sofa score ratings, because statistically, he wouldn't have performed that well. But the eye test told you his pressing, etc., was class. So it's not always thing, but... Over the course of the season, who scored? Aronson was in the statistically worst play. And to be honest, he was poor. He was piss poor. And he can move on for me personally. That's just my opinion. Because I think he's rubbish. And if you can't compete physically in the Premier League, and it is, very quick, I don't know. Barney has been pictured with Luke Ayling. There's the picture anyway. Big up to Barney. Here is the picture for those that want to see it. Luke Ayling is walking around Leeds clearly with a 49ers jersey on. If that isn't two fingers up to Radrazani and the current regime, I don't know what is. Trust me, I don't know what is. He's speaking there. He's speaking there. It's also like Victor Orta when we signed Rutter. When we signed Rutter, if you remember, he had the 49ers gear on because they were the one that put up the capital. Although it was really, really bad. It was a really bad signing. People, we forget about Rutter. Rutter could. I'm convinced now at this stage that Rutter's going to be good in the championship, if indeed we can keep him in there. I'm just having a look now and seeing if there is anything left to cover. No, that is all your latest news. All right. I want to know in the comments after the fact who you want as your manager if you are watching. I think if we were playing Snog, Marry, Avoid, as I say, it's going to be of the ones that are mentioned. We marry Corbaran, we Snog Gerard, we get rid of Parker, but yeah, we shall see, won't we? Listen, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course hit that notification bell. I'm off to go get my little boy now, and then when he's asleep, I'll do late night Leeds. So keep it locked because we will be back tonight. Have a great Sunday, folks. Iriola win, yeah, he's right. He's Orta's choice. I don't think Iriola moves to Leeds United now. I think we need to stop thinking about that one because it's not. That was a Victor Orta choice. It's not this current crop. And the Potter and Rogers thing, it's not happening. But yeah, listen. Have a good day, and I will see you later on this evening. Peace out, and enjoy your Sunday, folks. I'm going to go have some Sunday dins.